Chapter 35, A New Beginning. As time passed, Sarah got a little better every day, though it was not all a straight line to recovery. As Larry said later, she had good days and bad days. She would have nightmares that someone was trying to break into the house and take her away once again. I had to reassure her that that was not going to happen, and I was here to protect her. Sarah gave up softball even though she was so good at it. It was just too painful to watch and be a part of. It reminded her not only of the life she had known and lost, but of Cody as well. Sarah went to a new school now, with no one she had known from before, which was a double-edged sword. In some ways it was good, since there was no ever-present reminder of what had happened. No link to the everyday school life she had known right up until the afternoon of November 10th, 2010, when everything suddenly stopped. On the other hand, Sarah was still a young teenage girl in a new school, a traumatic experience for any kid. Moving somewhere new without the friends that she had grown up with was difficult, and despite Sarah's positive attitude and her desire to succeed in her new surroundings, to not just hide in the shadows and become the girl who bad things happen to. For some students, she would still always be that girl, the girl who had been kidnapped, the girl whose brother and mother and neighbor had been murdered, dismembered, and stuffed into a hollow tree, the girl who had been all over the news. When Sarah began going to school in Hamilton Township, she decided to take up volleyball instead. And being athletic, she was very good at it. She liked being part of the team and commented on how each player had to assist the others. Just being on the team was a bonding experience and helped Sarah adjust to her new environment. Sarah went to counseling sessions on a weekly basis, and they did help. So did keeping in touch with Diana Oswalt, the victim's advocate at the Knox County Prosecutor's Office. And Sarah also had something else going for her. She had some inner strength to carry on way beyond her years. She was determined not to be destroyed by what had happened to her and her family. Larry had always spoken of Sarah as being a bubbly girl. What surprised everyone that she was such a strong girl as well. The bubbly aspect about her did help Sarah make new friends at her new school. Instead of being withdrawn, she was still outgoing and popular. Larry said, "There were times we still had to talk over the past. I would say she was 70% bubbly most of the time now, as opposed to 90% before all of this happened. She was just basically an optimistic girl. She always believed in her possibilities for the future and didn't sit around moping about things. She was determined to live more for the future than the past." Sarah said her dream was to become a pediatrician. She loved kids and enjoyed her new younger brothers. AJ was 5 and Peyton only 16 months old. It was a new start, even with them. Sarah had been the older sister to Cody. Now she was the older sister to AJ and Peyton. She fell into the role more naturally than might have been expected under such trying circumstances. Sarah was always goal-oriented, and being the big sister once again was important to her. But there were some unforeseen circumstances for Larry. People who had been my friends started to drift away, he said. They didn't know what to say to me, so they stopped coming by or calling. It was almost like we had some kind of disease that they didn't want to catch. I would wonder if they felt if we get too close to him, maybe the same thing could happen to us. I knew that was crazy, but it felt like it anyway. Matthew Hoffman had taken away my family, and now he was taking away my friends. I hated him with every ounce of my body. He was pure evil. and both Larry and Sarah were very wary of strangers now. Their presumption of safety had been destroyed. If a man could break into Tina's house in a, quote, safe neighborhood, then what location was safe? They viewed the world through different eyes now, experienced it in a different way. Larry said, Sarah would see some guy and say, Dad, he looks creepy. She was just very, very aware of her surroundings. I would not let her walk to school alone. Either I or my wife would take her there every day. We lived in a different world now. Another new start for both Sarah and Larry was the creation of the Tina Rose B. Herman and Cody Alexander Maynard Healing Hearts Memorial Fund, HHMF. On the Today Show, Larry said of the foundation, "It's strictly a nonprofit organization developed to help victims of violent crime such as Sarah. We think it's going to be a really good organization to try and help other families that may possibly go through the same ordeal Sarah and the rest of our family has gone through." Larry said, "We wanted something good to come out of this tragedy, and it was also a way of remembering Tina and Cody and what good people they were. Cody had told me he wanted to be a Coast Guard helicopter pilot someday. He wanted to help people and rescue people. I've wondered how many people could he have rescued in the future. Matthew Hoffman put an end to that. It's as if Hoffman killed those people who might have been saved by Cody as well." In May 2011, Tina's friend, Teresa Partlow, organized a raffle for the HHMF Foundation. Teresa said, "Tina was a really, really good friend. She was always there to listen and always willing to help. I'm doing what I can to honor my friend." Larry and Sarah discussed what kind of event could raise money for the Memorial Fund. As it turned out, Barbara Herman, Tina's mother, had a brother who was a hot air balloon enthusiast. They suggested having a hot air balloon festival in Ohio to raise money, and both Larry and Sarah thought it would be a good idea. The Fairfield County Foundation also thought this was a good idea and teamed up with Healing Hearts for a balloon festival in the summer of 2011. The festival would feature balloon launches and tethered balloon rides, and there would be a sunset glow flight where the balloons would be illuminated in the darkness. The purpose was not only to remember the victims, but also to raise money for HHMF. Barbara Herman said, "We want to say to any victim of violence, it's enough going through it and surviving, but there are avenues you can turn to. It will be an honor to remember Tina and Cody. Their deaths were a tragedy, but from this tragedy, we hope we can help others." She added, "They touched so many lives when they were alive. Now they'll be able to touch people after they're gone. I also want to help people because it helps me." On August 5th, 2011, in Carroll, Ohio, the first annual Hot Air Balloon Festival took place, with 11 balloons rising into the skies. Funds were raised through sales of balloon rides, games, and food. Even Sarah and Larry took a balloon ride, and Sarah was very excited by the event. A huge smile spread across her face as the balloon ascended into the air and central Ohio spread out below her. It was as if she was leaving the troubles that haunted her back on the ground. For a little while, she could soar above all that. Larry said later, "It was good for her. It showed me the happy girl that was so much a part of the way she always was. Sarah's doing her best and getting better every day. She's determined not to let things get her down." Tina's mother, Barbara Herman, said of her granddaughter, "She's a real live wire, just like her mother, but all of this is still fresh in her mind. It's only been 8 months since it happened," Barbara related. This whole event was to bring something good out of something so evil. Tina and Cody's legacy will live on through this. After the summer ended and a new school year began for Sarah, it was amazing how well she adjusted to her new environment. She joined school activities and made lots of friends. Viewed from a distance, Sarah would look like any 14-year-old girl. The psychological scars were still there, of course, but they were not overpowering. The resilience she showed was remarkable, and Sarah was lucky in the sense that even though she had lost her mom and brother, she still had a good family who loved her and wanted the best for her. It was as normal a situation as could be possible under the circumstances. Life went on in a rhythm that was both soothing and nurturing, a life that mirrored those of many others in their Ohio neighborhood. Sarah escaped the stigma of being that tragic girl. She was just Sarah and intent on being just Sarah. She could still laugh and she could still dream. Larry talked about maybe moving to Florida someday with the family. That would put even more distance between what had happened and what the future might hold. Sarah often talked about becoming a pediatrician. Just like her mom, Tina, she loved children and wanted the best for them. Larry said, "The sky is the limit for Sarah. She's very bright and not afraid to go after what she wants in life. I'm so proud of her."